Hey guys, this is Drew, and I'm here to introduce to you guys the relaunched version of the Gear Guys podcast. Jack's out at Quick Check again right now for like the third time today, and it's not even noon. So he left me, the new guy, I was hired full time like yesterday, to introduce the show to you guys. Come to think of it, he's not even getting me anything. But anyway, today on the show, the guys interview the people at Agape Guitars about their new gear and other things that they're involved with. But before we get to that, we would like to thank our fine sponsors at Novell for allowing us to produce this podcast as well as this cute little room to record in. Also, we'd like to thank the guys over at Deko for helping us get this podcast off the ground, as well as everything they do for us over there. Now, personally, as a keyboard player, I don't understand much about guitars and tone woods and pedals and amps and stuff, so I'm going to hand it over to the experts to talk to you guys about that. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Fucking stupid guitar players making keyboard players do all the work while they go to...
Hey guys, it's Jack Harrison, and after 3 years of being off the air, Gear Guys is back on, and we have our first guest waiting, but I just want to let you know it's February 6, 2021, since this is pre-recorded, just in case the three of us need an alibi. It's 2 o'clock. We're probably going to be talking for a little bit. Any crap goes down, we all got each other's back. So today we have Agape Guitars that's on, spelled Agape, but it's Agape, and Rich makes a really very interesting guitar, very different from other ones that are out there, more of your high performance sports car versions of instruments. And before we dive into that, I'd just like to say that this is a Deko presentation of Gear Guys. And I'd like to thank our sponsor, Novell. Novell is one of the largest manufacturers of fine jewelry in the United States that specializes in engagement and wedding rings. And plus they started letting me casting guitar parts and picks. So who knows what's going to happen out of that, but we're making silver picks now, and that's a thing. So thank you very much, Novell. You guys are awesome. A lot of good things are going to come out of this. Let's dive in. Rich, how the hell you been, man? It's been a while.
Been doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
It's about as good as I project on social media. There's been ups, there's been downs, but it's an up time, so this is fantastic. What do you have new that's going on at Agape?
Man, so much stuff. Business has really picked up during the pandemic, oddly enough. So that's an upside, I actually just what I have here is the new headless model that I'm debuting. It's called the Knox. This one, the prototype here is already sold, but it's going to its home in California soon. But it's a headless design. This one's a 7-string. And Knox will be available in 6, 7, multi-scale, standard, all that. So that's the newest thing out of the shop.
So let's talk. Let's get geeky right away. So it looks like you have Fishman Fluency pickups in that.
Yeah.
So which
those? Do you have much experience with them?
When they first came out, I was blown away by them, and I got a set of them, and I liked them, but it didn't give me the sound I wanted for blues. But for when I wanted something aggressive, it kind of had like this natural compression that was cool.
Right. Yeah, these are the Fishman Moderns.
Okay.
And yeah, the thing I like about them is it's dead quiet for one. I'm a big fan of no hum. But also just like the versatility. I think they clean up really well with the volume pot. They're aggressive when you need it, and just like with the little push-pull switch, you can switch from a more active kind of sound to a more passive, like a Nyko kind of thing. So, and my favorite thing, honestly, is their little rechargeable doohickey. So you can just plug it into your guitar into a USB port.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, apparently they said they can get up to 250 hours of battery life on one charge. So anytime you can plug your guitar into a USB, that's just fun.
All right. So, tell us about the build on that. Is that flame maple top?
Yeah, flame maple top on it. It is a black Limba body.
Carina
on there.
Nice.
Yeah, Gibson calls it Carina for whatever reason, but yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's like a lightweight mahogany for anybody that's listening that doesn't know. Very resonant wood.
Very resonant wood, and bonus that it smells like old cheese when you're working it. So that's a plus. Time. Yeah, if you can see the neck here, it is a figured Purple Heart neck.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, 5-piece. It has 3 pieces of the Purple Heart, and then Pale Moon Ebony stringers, which is probably the densest wood I've ever worked with.
Yeah, that neck's not going anywhere.
It goes nowhere, sir. Nowhere. And also Pale Moon fretboard.
That's beautiful. That's
Thank you.
natural streaking, or did you do that?
Natural streaking, yeah.
Oh, that's
Pale moon is
fantastic.
beautiful stuff.
Yeah, that is really something. So what does something like that cost?
Base price on the Knox is 2,600, and that includes a figured top, because this one, it's part of the design that it has two different levels. So 2,600, and that comes with custom wound pickups and stainless steel frets, all that.
Stainless steel frets. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I'm a fan
Yes.
of nickel, the way that it feels and the way it wears on some of my instruments, but on other ones, you just need stainless steel because you're going to beat the hell out of it. And stainless steel just doesn't really go anywhere. It'll last forever.
Yeah, you can tell. I can tell how long it'll last because of how much it beats up my tools to use it.
That's funny. That's funny, man. I've been following some of the stuff you've been doing on Facebook, and there was a guitar that looks like is it paint or is it epoxy that you're doing on some of the tops?
Mostly epoxy, yeah.
That is badass. Tell me about that.
Well, thanks. Well, it's I'm always looking for something that makes it not look like your grandpa's guitar, for lack of a better term. Not there's anything wrong with those, the classics are classic for a reason. But, they've also been done a lot. So why not do something else?
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw some of the started with some of the river table kind of things that people have been doing. Those are hugely popular. And yeah, just started to think what we could do like that with wood. So anything to make it look sort of interesting. As far as it doesn't have any tonal properties that I've heard, if you can keep it thin enough, usually it's a 1/4 inch top, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just fun to play. It's just another element to play with, which is fascinating to me right now.
Absolutely. Now, with the epoxy, are you able to do a full top epoxy and it retains the bridge and nothing pulls out of it? I've always found it fascinating, but I've never really looked at it for myself for guitars because I'm a tone wood guy. Like, I know what I like. I like
Right.
maple. I like walnut. I like mahogany. Um,
Hmm.
so when you're doing something like that, say if you just, built, let's say, for example, a junior, and out of the junior, you just
Hmm.
wanted to take the top and shave it down a 1/4 inch and then do something with epoxy. What would that do to the bridge? Everything's on just a wraparound bridge. It's going to it. What's the chance of movement?
Epoxy, when it's cured properly, of course, is super solid. The I haven't put a full epoxy top on just yet, but if it's a 1/4 inch top, then your bridge bolts go down at least like 7/8. So it's still mostly into the tone wood,
Gotcha.
So yeah, I wouldn't anticipate any movement out of it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm dying to play one. You and I think there's like 2 or 3 other guys that I saw when Crimson Guitar, that guy Ben did the American
Hmm.
build off. I think one guy did that, and some schmuck made one out of colored pencils online, and someone
You
else,
saw that.
yeah, epoxy gummy bears. I thought that was weird, but
That's
yeah, yeah, it was
wow.
very strange. It's big epoxy threw gummy bears in it and sealed it off. So that was a fun one to read through. But I'm really curious to see how it stands up because epoxy, the epoxy that I've used does dry very hard, but I didn't know how it would go over time because it does have some plastic components to it. And I know some
Hmm.
guitars that they used to make with the plastic components on the top would just shred right off. If you put a 12 gauge string on it, the bridge was just tilting in. But
All
that's,
right.
yeah, it's cool if you got it to work, man, because I'd love to play one.
Yeah, I'm if everything goes right and the show doesn't get postponed due to COVID, I'm scheduled at the New York Guitar Show in April. So that's not
That's
too far
Lonnie.
from you,
Yeah,
man.
that's Lonnie's show, right?
Rich Johnson.
Oh, Rich Johnson's? Okay, very good. Oh,
Yeah,
so not the New York Am show. Okay, very good.
right. Yeah, it's over on Long Island.
Oh,
So
yeah. Oh, hell yeah, I'll go to that one. That's a fun show.
it is a fun show, man. Yeah, come down. I'll have some new stuff. I've got some epoxy cooking right now, actually. So
Very nice, very nice. So besides what we just talked about, tell everybody what Agape Guitar is all about. What is your mission? What do you look for? When people see this, they're going to probably reach out to you about being endorsed because that's what people do. But what do you look
mhm.
for in artists? What do you look for when you're building someone a guitar? And what is the process that goes into it when you sit down with someone and say, okay, we're going to make something for you that I may not have made before? How do you come
Right.
together and make that dream come a reality?
Right on. Well, it you know just as people are different, the process is different with each person to a degree. The general thing is figuring out what they want, why they want it, and basically, like, I'm generally game for fairly custom stuff. I've made a 42 fret guitar before. I'm working on one with interchangeable fretted and fretless fretboards right now for a guy. So feasibility, we got to figure out if it's actually doable first. And then I think, yeah, it's.
Why?
I've been working on it for a while.
Is it fan frets and straight frets, or?
You know what's funny is, well, he started out, he wanted it's the same guy that ordered the 42 fret guitar. So
that just, it's not a guitar anymore. It's
yeah,
an instrument, but it's
his
not
stuff's a little out there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So he asked about a fretless guitar, right, with a sustainer.
Cool.
Yeah, and sometime during the design phase, I just happened to mention to him, I'm like, look, fretlesses are a lot harder to play, so you're probably going to sound junky until you figure it out, like that your fingers go directly on top of the lines, that kind of thing. Yeah. He's like, okay, so why don't we make them switchable out so I can play it, with a fretted fretboard if I suck at this one. So
copyright that process, bro, because if you can get that right as an interchangeable fretboard with fretless and going back,
Yeah, the guitar is cool, but I think really the killer app for that would be basses. I reached out to some of my friends. I've got a buddy in Florida, for instance, that does the Disneyland thing, but also then has like a Caribbean or Afro fusion bands at night that need a fretless. I talked to him and a couple other working bassists that I know about that, and they're like, dude, take my money. So yeah, I'm still ironing out the process, to make it like switchable quick, so you can switch it mid gig without too much problem. So
that's it at the gig, or you want to make it just literally switchable with the strings on it?
Loosening the strings, but yeah.
Man, you got my
it's
now. That's cool stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Wow.
Assuming it works, it's gonna be real cool. Yeah. So definitely in the development phase still, But as long as if somebody has a custom idea, then I will tell them if something they're wanting doesn't work, or be it like logistically or for the tone they're trying to get. I'll lend what expertise I have to that kind of thing. But generally goes on the models I have established, but then also if they want a custom model, I won't do something that's been done before. Like I won't build you a Les Paul, or a polka dot V or anything like that. But like, as long as it's within constraints, we can build it.
Very nice. Why don't you walk us through your standard guitars where you body styles that you start off with? I've seen you had standard T style guitars that you worked with.
Yeah.
And this one is a very unique design that's very, Ferrari compared to, your Cadillac, like the T.
Right. Yeah.
What other style guitars do you get into? Do you do an arch? Do you do an S style or anything like that?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So like you said, I do have the T style, the Eve, like our buddy Dan has. Do those. I do have an arch top style thing, like a 335-esque kind of thing. That's in paint right now. So I haven't launched it yet, but it's a custom order. It started as a custom order for a cruise ship musician friend that I know.
Very nice.
And so that's coming down the pike. I do have my Genea shape is sort of Les Paulish, so I have some single cut stuff, some an SG type thing, and a lot of basses. So basically I think like generally from classic shapes to more outlandish stuff, I generally have something that will appeal to most people, and at least some people in a line.
Everything that you just said fits into the same category except the 335. So is the 335 a carved top, or is that a laminate that you're doing?
It's carved top, yeah.
Really? A real 335? And you what scale length are you making it at?
The gentleman ordered it with a 25 scale.
That's So save those blueprints, and we're going to talk later. That's
excellent.
I have a D'Angelico ESXX that I've been using now on an album that I really like. But because it's completely hollow, when I crank it, she just howls a little bit too much. And I don't have a 335 right now. So side conversation for another time, but you definitely got my attention. I wasn't expecting that from you.
Right on.
Definitely. So with everything you said that your sales were doing really well right now with the pandemic. And I've spoken to
Mhm.
a lot of gear makers and it's hit or miss. It's either you're doing absolutely phenomenal or
Mhm.
you're in the dumps right now and you're not doing anything. What do you
Right.
think that you've done for the other gear makers that are listening right now that may be struggling with finding a way to go out there? And I know that you're their competition, but it is a community.
Sure.
So if you had
We're
any
community.
advice that you wanted to share, please do so. So then they know
Yeah.
how to market themselves since you had success.
Right. I think for me, um, the main thing, and I would like to stress that we're all a community. There's not a builder that I've met that's like a jerk. They're all good people, and we all tend to get along fairly well. Well, not you, but everybody.
Yeah, everybody hates me. Fuck that.
Everybody hates Jack, so yeah,
I just cursed.
yeah. But yeah, I think what worked for me was just steady social media marketing. You know, it was real easy to fall into kind of a funk with the pandemic. We all felt that. Whether we started trying to learn how to bake sourdough stuff or just sat around with TV and nachos, it's kind of hard to get up to do stuff. But I think like just constant, like steady social media presence, Instagram, Facebook, all that.
That's
I think
fantastic.
yeah, it's the key to helping stuff, even when you don't feel like doing it. Even if I don't have something great, like a very picturesque thing to show off, it's still, you can show what's going on in the shop, a different technique that somebody might not be hip to, just a behind the scenes kind of glance. I think that really helped.
That's awesome. And which model
So
have you
yeah,
had
and
the most
like what I
success?
did,
Which
oh
model
my gosh,
that
the
it's been the
Eve,
most
yeah,
success? Which one?
yeah, the Eve, the T style,
The T style?
yeah, yo, gosh, yes, yeah, I've got this one that I just finished up.
Is that a
I have
record?
made more T style, yeah, it's Johnny Cash album.
Nice.
So I've sold a lot of T styles because that's what people are familiar with. Plus, they will tend to play and sound better than the off the rack tees you'll get at Guitar Center.
Well,
You know,
that's a hell of a piece. Is that
so
ash that you got right there? That's ash?
yeah, Ash.
That's beautiful. How'd you what
Thank
the
you, man.
lighting's a little bit bright in there, so I can't really see the color. Is that a blue or a green?
Yeah, that is a sort of a seafoam green. Yeah,
That is really something. And it's one piece, or did you do two?
this one's a two piece, but I think the process works better on a one piece for sure. Because the process with this is I don't know if you've heard of shoshugiban, which
Have
is a
not?
Japanese technique. Basically, what they would do is char the wood on the outside of their homes to make it fireproof, moisture proof, that sort of thing. For me, it was just an excuse to play with a blowtorch because I'm a firebug, have been since I was a kid, But like if you torch it pretty well, it makes the difference between the high grain and the low grain stand out a little more, be a little more pronounced.
Yeah,
So it's not a
exciting.
smooth surface. Yeah, so then you paint the whole thing and then take some steel wool to the high parts, which takes the paint off and just leaves it in the lower parts.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, that looks sharp.
yeah,
So what do you
thanks,
got
man.
running in there? Is that you got a P90? Is that a noiseless or just a old fashioned P90?
Old fashioned P90, yeah.
That's the way to
The
go.
it is pretty quiet since I tend to shield pretty well with my electronics cavities. But yeah, these are McNelly pickups. Um, I will go to bat for McNelly any day. Tim makes amazing pickups, and yeah, they're my favorites. I've used his stuff with everything. This is his T-bar model, which is sort of like the sound of a P90 in a telly form factor. And then one of his straight P90s, which is probably this one in particular is one of my favorite neck pickup sounds I've heard.
Really?
So
Is it
yeah,
throaty or
yeah,
is it just clear?
it's warm and you can hear every note.
Mm.
You know, so without getting woofy. You know, so yeah, this one, yeah, this one's for sale on my page of steel. So
You know what's running through my mind right now? I just realized that because we're
Dirty
starting
thoughts,
the show
probably.
back up. Yeah, I mean, I'm having really dirty thoughts about that guitar, and I'm probably going to go broke. I'm going to go broke
Yeah,
hosting the show again. So,
probably.
what
Yeah.
does that cost? What does that cost?
Well, the base price for the Eve model is 2,000. This one's on sale for 1,400,
That's a great price.
shipped.
Gig bag or case?
Hard shell case included.
Wow, look at that, folks. $1,400, handmade guitar, hard shell case, shipped anywhere in the United States or outside as well.
I'll ship worldwide, but it won't be free outside the U.S. though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll ship
it's
anywhere.
an option. Fantastic.
Yeah,
So
for
folks
sure.
listening, there'll be a link in the bottom of this for you to go purchase that guitar. Just make sure you send me that link a little bit later.
Will do. Thanks.
Yep. So folks, we're just running up against the clock right now for a quick break. So we're going to take a quick pee break and get a word in from our sponsors.
Here at Novell Global, we are the industry leader in fine jewelry craftsmanship. Our handcrafted and custom designed rings, meticulously crafted from the finest precious metals, are perfect for all of your needs, whether that be for an engagement, a wedding, or for everyday fashion. All of our rings are made in America and have been since 1988.
All right, and we're back, folks. If you're just joining us right now, we're with Agape Guitars today, and we're talking all types of fun stuff. And I've just realized I'm going to go broke hosting the show again. Because all these guitars are just making me nuts. But let's spend a little bit of time with Daniel, who is one of the people who uses Agape Guitars. He's an artist for them, and he has a very, very unique piece he has with him here. I'm not going to tell you about it, but it's just it's stunning. So without any further ado, man, please tell us a little bit about you, about your guitar, what you're doing, what your, focus is on your new album. His new album is crazy, by the way. I listened to it today. You get a chance. It'll be a link in the bottom as well, but take it away, dude. It's all you.
Thanks for having me. My name's Dan Long, and I'm a guitarist for a project called Rejoice, the Light Has Come. I don't do this professionally. It's sort of a hobby for me. I'm actually a full-time clinical psychologist, just sort of do this for the love of it. We've released an EP on Transcending Records last year, and we're hard at work on a second one, and then kind of an album. I guess we don't sort of like the traditional album format, so I suppose you call them EPs, but I mean, it takes so much work just to make 15 minutes of music. So to me, they're like an album, but we're going to try to come out with like a full length, over the next year or two. Met Rich a few years back now, I think. And, I was looking for luthiers in the area. It just so happens I used to help someone kind of run their business, a custom luthier in Texas. So I was really interested to find someone local, and met Rich, met up with him, super humble guy. And he brought some of his work. I think he had like a couple of his Eve models and maybe like a Jumia model, which is really cool as well. And I knew right when I saw him that I was going to be into him. And then, what's really cool is in the past couple of years, his build quality has just like gone up and up so rapidly. And so the latest builds, like the headless that he had there, I got to see that yesterday actually. That thing's ridiculously built. And I don't know what he's doing, but like every one of his instruments is like super loud acoustically and like really resonant. Like this thing's like super loud. And if you strum it and put it next to your chest, like it'll vibrate, it's a really, really nice instrument. So I asked Rich to build me something for this project. And this is what I asked him for. I wanted to get an Eve model. I'm kind of into the old man guitars, but ones that have modern appointments. Obviously, you don't see many Telecasters that are multi-scale, at least not commercially produced. And I went to him and told him sort of the specs that I wanted on this thing, and he knocked it out of the park. And I also want to. I'm happy to tell you about the specs of it, or
I'm dying to know what that top is, because the lighting in there is a little bit dark, but it looks like burl.
It's ridiculous. So it is like this really ridiculous piece of walnut.
Oh God,
Really like figured quite crazy. I think there's pictures on his webpage or his Facebook, and then that's on mahogany body, and then
That's
this
flamed
neck is
mahogany.
ridiculous.
Is that flamed mahogany or was that the lights? That's a
Got a
flamed
lot
mahogany
of
back.
figure in it.
Jesus
Yeah,
Yeah.
Christ.
it looks like it's got
Oh my
flames in
God.
it,
Where did you
too.
get that piece of wood? Oh,
Funnily enough, I got it in Amish, Ohio. They have a huge wood store over there about 3 hours from here.
that is a gorgeous piece of
Amish
wood.
dudes, man, they got the good stuff.
They sure do. They
Yes,
sure do.
ridiculous piece of wood. It's a 7-piece neck, I think, if I'm not getting that wrong. I haven't counted it lately. I think it's 7. And then I have this like really quilty maple board and headstock. The thing looks like a swimming pool when you oil it. Like, looks like you could jump right into the thing.
Could I see the scarf
Um,
joint again? Can you turn around the headstock?
Yeah,
Let me see the scarf joint.
that's ridiculous, right?
That's
if
like
you can-
perfection. No, I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah. The pictures that he has online are really great. It's like
Yeah,
really
that's not going
immaculate.
anywhere. That's beautiful work, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's got a limba pick guard. Also a set of McNellys. So for the music that we play, it's metal. It's kind of black metal, avant-garde, sort of dissonant black metal stuff. And then the tone that we usually go for is a little clearer. We don't go super heavy gain. So we really like our sound to be a little more bright and articulate. And so I asked Rich if we could get a humbucker that was almost like a 70s wide range Telecaster pickup. And he went to McNelly and had these things made up. And my God, they're incredible. You could stack gain on them and you're not going to lose any bit of clarity.
Are they ceramic?
I'm not sure.
They are. They're Alnico 5, I think.
Yeah.
Alnico 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a single in the neck. And I'm going to guess it's a stacked because the thing doesn't make noise, or at least not in our gear. But it retains all the qualities of the single coil, which is really nice. And then the knobs, standard volume, tone, 3-way toggle, rocking a multi-scale hip shot bridge and locking tuners. And then, he threw for the truss rod cover, you got a little bit of a limba there as well. And, I was saying to a buddy of mine yesterday, like there's certain objective qualities you can talk about in guitar building. And, Rich is nailing those out of the park in terms of construction and build quality and stuff. And he has a knack for picking out really crazy woods too, really, really nice looking pieces of woods. But there's also like that thing that you can't tell just from pictures, like that certain warmth or that magic that's in an instrument. Not everybody, I said that to Rich once. Rich said, well, it's just because it's hand built. And I'm like, no, I've owned a lot of hand built custom guitars. They don't all have them. Just because it's hand built doesn't mean that they have that sort of that mojo to them. You know what I mean?
That's for sure, man.
That's the one thing that stood out to me, even like a few years ago. There's always like a warmth in everything you build. So
It takes a lot to get that transfer of energy to hit the body just right. And, if you get it right and the natural, the grain in the wood will amplify that sound that you feel in your gut. I mean, that's, Rich, do you tone tap or do you just go based off? You do tone tap.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's why you feel in your belly, man. I mean, what key do you tone tap to, or do you want to keep it a secret?
I don't get that deep into it. I just see if it has a sustaining tone,
Yeah.
and depending on, because like there's generally when you tap wood, there's an overtone and then a lower fundamental tone. So I'll look to see if those are matched up. They're not like, screaming against each other.
Yeah.
So that's as far as the tone as I go, just make sure it's a vibrant piece of wood. You know what I mean?
That's the magic right there. So, a lot of people always say that, oh my God, I went out and I bought a Squire guitar and I couldn't believe it. I picked it up. It was the most amazing thing I ever played, but the one next to it sucked. That's because the schmuck that put the piece of wood in the factory got lucky. So,
Right.
Exactly. So tone tapping wood to get those natural properties and cutting it just right is what gives it that, the same guy or another luthier could have picked up that same piece of wood and cut it differently and it wouldn't have been the same. So yeah, I'm a fan of your work. You know that. I'm very public about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. But to tone tap the wood to get it just right so you could feel it in your gut. I mean, we all know that doesn't transfer over to anything. You plug in your guitar, you're compressing it out through, you're playing through distortion. So you're completely modifying that signal and you're changing the frequency response and everything. But what makes it the playability part of it is you want to pick it up and play it because it makes you feel good. You can feel the
Right.
note in there. You can hum along with it and do types of stuff. So yeah, that's great.
Mhm.
I love the fact that you tone tap. But anyway, sorry, Daniel, I went on a rant.
Oh, you're good.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's like working as a professional during the day and, at moonlighting in what you said, black metal band. So how does
Yeah.
that translate? I mean, being a psychologist and then playing black metal music, I mean, are you trying to tell us that this is your therapy? You're getting all that out in the music?
Sure.
There you go. There you go.
uh, yeah, no, I mean, I like to create, and it's one of my outlets, I guess. And I'm busy, and it's hard to get the time. I think if I had more time, I've got family and kids and stuff. If I had more time, of course, I'd love to be able to spend all the time I could producing music and putting it out there. So it's just a lot of as I can make the time for it, late nights writing or on the weekends. One of the things I always do, my collaborator Eric and I, we have like a standing Sunday appointment. That sort of thing. I go over to his place. And by the way, I keep most of my guitars at his place for recording purposes because the humidity in my house in West Virginia gets pretty oppressive. And I've literally had like cabinet doors crack from low humidity. So I miss this thing during the week, during winter months. It has to go stay over at Uncle Eric's so that it doesn't blow up or something.
That's a good friend, man. I would not trust my friends with my guitars like
Well,
that.
I had a serious conversation with his wife. I'm like, if Eric gets hit by a bus, you got to know whose guitars are whose,
Yeah, exactly. That's some serious stuff.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
God, it's
tough,
sick that we're laughing at that.
Keep laugh, it's fun.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, just sort of making the time for it and carving it as a priority.
That's awesome. So, who are you inspired by? Which musicians do you like to listen to when you get in the zone before you go in the studio?
Oh wow, great question. For me, it's maybe if you listen to the music, you probably wouldn't expect some of the answers I'd give you. I mean, the obvious ones are obviously I love metal, so there's that. Um, but I listen to like a lot of like Pink Floyd and Godspeed You Black Emperor and just a wide array of stuff. Those are a couple come off the top.
That's awesome. So, who's your top three guitar players of all time?
Jimi Hendrix. Boy, this is gonna be tough. Somewhere between Albert King, Stevie Ray Vaughan for number two. Can I do that? I don't
Of
know.
course, you can. They might be the same person at this point. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll just say that those are three. Those are three good starters, right?
There you go. There you go. Awesome. So you're in the studio now. You're recording this album. You had 3 songs up on Bandcamp that I saw.
Mhm.
What is the next step for you as a musician? What happens if all of a sudden you have your full EP out there and boom, people love it, and it is good. It's very good for black metal. I'm not a metal guy, but I
Yeah.
can appreciate music and music composition and understanding what you're doing. And for the style of music, it's correct, and it's good.
Thanks.
So. Yeah. Oh, I tell you too. If it sucked, don't worry about that. But you actually you winded
You,
up on the good side of the equation. Um, but what happens if someone says, "Hey, we really like this"? Are you the type of guy that say, "Well, I need to keep my day job. I'll get a band to go play my music," or are you the type of guy that says, I need to take a furlough from work and go do this"?
yeah, I don't say no to work and opportunities. So for me, I would just find a way to make it happen. I'm carrying, a ton of annual leave time, like at any given moment. So if there were an opportunity that came up that I was, really excited to pursue, I would just make it happen. And the people around me know that I tend to be that way as well, sort of intensely going after things that I want to do, that I'm passionate about. But yeah, I mean, we have that one EP. We have a second EP coming out probably in a few months. Both of those are going on to vinyl this year, kind of, as like almost like an album, if you will. and then we'll get to writing sort of a bigger album in next year, and sort of see where that takes us, and maybe it'll take us to some festivals or other cool opportunities.
That's very cool. Now, before COVID, were you playing out, or are you strictly in studio putting together a dream piece?
Yeah, so we put together even before COVID. So we did actually we released our EP last April. So right there at the cusp, it was on Easter Day we released it.
Wow.
And the hope was to play it out, but we were also kind of wanting to see how people would, whether they'd be receptive to the music. Again, I have like sort of limited time, and so I can always make music for myself, but there's a lot of work and money that goes into producing it and putting it out there. I don't know, well, I'm sure listeners of this show probably know that, but there's a ton of money that goes into, and time and energy that goes into it. So I wanted to see how people responded, and so far we've had really great reception and a lot of support. So we're now writing the second one, and we'll have enough material to start playing live, and look forward to doing so as soon as we can, as soon as we're able to.
That's great. So a lot of the folks that are listening to this right now are in a transition stage where they're working full time, especially because of COVID, and they either want to get back out playing or they want to start playing because they found a new love when they realized that their income was taken away, and they, said, well, fuck it, I'm just going to be a musician now. What advice do you have for someone that's juggling between a professional career like yourself and the opportunity to make art? How do you have that together? And what can you tell folks on to prepare for it?
I don't know that I would be in a position to give any advice on that. I can only speak from my own experience on these things. I'm fortunate enough to have a job that wasn't, my employment wasn't affected by COVID in any way, and that's kind of my main priority. And that's how I support my family and kids and so on. And I make music a priority. It's up there in the list, but those other things I just mentioned are always more important. So for me, it's just a kind of a balancing act, and I think you have to be sort of realistic about what you're able to sacrifice. Yeah.
That's a great answer. I mean, I don't think I could say it any other way. Folks, if you want to go out there and take a risk, take a risk. You got to learn how to juggle between, what's going on and, reality. But what's important is focusing on your release. And I don't mean that in any weird way. Well, maybe I do, but the release of what's going on in your life. Being a therapist, you can relate to this. My therapy is albums. If I get into a funk, I lock myself in my studio for 3 days, and I'll put together a song that's just for me. And if someone pissed me off or did something to make me feel that way, I'll send it to them, and I'll just write it off, and I'll bank it, put it away, and in a few years I'll sell it to somebody. But it's important, and I'm using this as a platform for the first show. Um, Education in music is so important, and sharing knowledge with each other is so important, because our industry took such a hit because of this, without trade shows, without venues, without anything. And I think it's a time that people need to understand that it's okay to have a day job and do something different at night and put art out there. Art is about expression. It's about taking something that's very personal to you and making it so everyone can understand what you were feeling at that moment. And if they can relate to it, it's great. And you can't make good art without good tools. And Rich makes a hell of a tool. And this is a great option for you guys. So, we're going to be winding up the show in just a minute. We're going to get some final thoughts from you guys in a second. But realistically, guys, if you have your tool bag and you're going out, it's not just one guitar. And that pisses me off so much when someone says, well, I got a Les Paul, I don't need anything else. Well, then you're not a musician, dude. You're just playing a Les Paul. You have to have at least 10, 15 guitars in your arsenal if you're going to be a professional musician. You need to have your acoustics, your arch tops, your semi-hollows, your hollow bodies, your P90s, your single coils, your humbuckers, your mini humbuckers, your Ferraris like what you have. I mean, you can't play blues on that. You might be able to, but that's not designed for blues, really. That's designed for something that's fast. You're not going to trip over your fingers on that, because what is the setting? What do you got the string set at? Like 1 millimeter?
1.5, I think.
All right,
Yeah.
1.5. So I'm a 2.25 millimeter player. So, I like it chunky when I'm playing blues. But if someone hires me as a studio musician to play something like that, I'm going to play something like that. And I need something like that in my arsenal. And I do have something like that in my arsenal. It's just not, I didn't know you made those at that time, or else I probably would have had one of those. I recently just went out and bought one of the, I don't want to say big brands, but it's a brand that only builds instruments like that and sells them online direct to consumers. So
Mm.
I purchased one of those for when I need to go into the studio. And you're talking about fretless, and I don't mind saying this on here because it's a totally different instrument, but VGA. For a little while, I had one of their fretless instruments. And you know what? I couldn't play it to save my life. So I sold it and bought two guitars because that's how much money it was. But
Right.
you need a tool for every job. And if you're a working musician and you're going between playing with band A and band B and C at different gigs or in the studio, don't think just because, oh, I'm only a telly player. Well, you're not really a musician then. You're a telly player. Musicians have tools, and their tools are multiple guitars if you're a guitar player. So that's my rant. But let's get some closing thoughts. Daniel, what do you have to say to anybody that's watching this that, wants to get a new guitar? Why should they get an Agape?
Um, well, for me, that's pretty easy. We literally put out an entire range of guitars to select from for creating our new EP. We went entirely based on sound. There were two guitars that we selected for it, one for Eric to play, one for me to play, and this is the one. It does exactly everything we need, and that's because Rich really listened. And if you're gonna spend money on a custom instrument, you want a luthier who isn't arrogant and isn't going to sell you their viewpoint, but they're going to want to listen to what it is you need as a musician, what needs to be, in your toolbox to work. And so, a lot of gratitude to Rich for putting together this amazing instrument.
That's awesome, man. Can't get any better endorsement than that, right? I'll cut
For
that
sure.
out, that audio bit, and you can just use that as a ringtone. Uh, so, uh, tell people how they can order your guitars. What's the wait time, and what won't you make besides your standard copies?
Right. Okay. My website is being redesigned right now, but agapeguitars.com generally. You can find me on any of the social media platforms at Agape Guitars and shoot me a message and we will get you started. Build times right now depends on it. Right now it's between 6 and 7 months
That's
completion.
not bad. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Payment wise, we generally split the total price into 3 equal payments along the course of the build. Of course, I'm really flexible with that too. If something better will work for you in order to get a custom instrument in your hands, I'm happy to do it.
That's cool.
Past that, I forget what the last part you said was.
I don't know. I don't remember 3 minutes ago. Short-term memory. Medical marijuana cards.
It's hard,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So agapeguitars.com on Facebook. I'm going to have links up on the Gear Guys page, also my personal page once we post this up. But folks, this is an option for you. It's a great option. So if, when you get that stimulus check, if your bills are paid, why not get a new guitar? Just, tell your wife it got lost in the mail. You're fine. But we're going to wrap this up. I'd like to thank both of you very much for coming on here today and being the first guest back on Gear Guys as we relaunch it. I'd like to thank Deko Entertainment again and Novell. So guys and girls listening, I don't think we have too many women that listen to the show, but you spend a lot of money on guitars. Go to novellstudiodesign.com, find a ring for her and give it to her next time you buy a guitar. They can find a local retailer near you to go and pick it up. But until next time, this is Jack from Gear Guys. And I would say see on the radio because that's what I used to say. But now you get to see my face. It's kind of weird because I could see myself talking the entire time. And I just don't like that. But yeah, be kind to one another. Stop harassing each other on social media about bullshit. Really focus on the importance of making art and using proper tools and instruments to do so and come together as a community. If other communities can do it, we can do it. And that's why we have this resource center for you. If you go to gearguyspodcast.com, you'll see all the columnists that are involved. And we have some top-notch people, including Grammy-winning producers that will be producing the show as well through Deko Entertainment. Lots of stuff going on. This is a family. This is not just a show. If you want to be on the show, if you got a band, you want to talk about your music, send me a message. If you want to come on, if you're a gear maker, whatever it is, let's talk. Let's get the buzz going. Let's get the industry back to where it needs to be because I'm fat. I like to eat. And if I don't get paid, I don't eat. And then I'm mad. So I need work. You need work. Let's make it happen. Till next time, be safe.